Team All MLB. We've got 3 managerial hirings to talk about. We did second team on Monday, and now we do the first team on Wednesday, November 8th. Jack McMullen, Peter Apple, Just Baseball Show. Peter's going to give you the MGM spiel in a moment. Carlos Mendoza was hired as the manager of the New York Mets. Stephen Vogt gets his first managerial job as the manager of the Cleveland Guardians. And I want to spend some time on the Craig Counsell thing because I'm fascinated by it. And sneaky, there's some precedent to this with that organization. But then we give you the best guy at each position in Major League Baseball this year. But Peter, I keep forgetting who we're sponsored by.
It's an absolutely loaded show brought to you by the King of Sportsbooks, and that is BetMGM. Sign up and deposit into your newly created account using promo code JustBaseball. Download the BetMGM Sports app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once the wager is settled. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older, and terms and conditions apply. Before we get into the managers, first off, I'm glad to be back. Whenever it's been almost a week since I've done a podcast, I always miss it. I love talking to you. I love talking to Aram.
Do you have withdrawals?
I was listening. Excuse me?
Do you have withdrawals?
A little bit.
Got it.
But Aram said on yesterday's show, or that was Monday's show, whatever day it is. Now we're in the off season, so it's all a fugazi.
Yeah.
He beautifully illustrated a very nice point that this is a discussion. It's about what you value in a player. And, he hit all the marks. He said everything that you should. But unfortunately, he's wrong. But he is right, because all of us came to these guys and they are the correct answer. So there isn't really much of a debate here. These are the players. We said 2 + 2 = 4. If anybody has any disagreements, you can say 2 + 2 = 5. But as we know, it's not 5. So I'm excited to know all the answers to the test. I thought I would just let the people know that these are the right answers, and I'm proud of us.
With that being said, you texted me last night about the first position that we're going to talk about, and you were like, I have to be mad about this one.
Well, I had to figure out something. But
okay.
I did more research, and I tend to agree with our selections now. But I did have one disagreement, which I'm excited to talk about. But other than that, it's perfect.
Yeah, accompanying article is live at justbaseball.com, by the way. Ryan Finkelstein, our managing editor, and I just kind of bang that thing out, and you can almost read along as you listen to this if you want, or you get it in podcast form here. And if you do want to see the numbers and use it as a reference point throughout the offseason, go ahead and find that at justbaseball.com. Let's start with the Mets, because twofold news thing early this week. They hire Carlos Mendoza, who was Aaron Boone's bench coach in the Bronx for the last 4 years. Now he switches boroughs, and he is the manager of the Mets in Queens. He's going to have a Battery Atlanta adjacent thing in Queens that he will roll up to every day when he goes to work. Steve Cohen just pledged an $8 billion complex outside Citi Field that's going to go up. Is he made of money? I guess. Hedge funds. Shout out him.
Shout out hedge funds. Shout out Steve Cohen. I think Mets fans are a little bit upset with him right now, at least those who are chronically online, because they did not get Craig Counsell, and they hired Carlos Mendoza, and he's coming over from the Yankees, and a lot of people don't know much about him. But just adding on to the Steve Cohen, I'm trying to find... so New York Mets owner Steve Cohen unveils $8 billion 50-acre investment around Citi Field. Will include a Hard Rock hotel and casino and sportsbook, restaurants, bars, and a live music venue. This is from Darren Ravel. Also 20 acres of public park space. So as a New York resident, someone who lives relatively close to Citi Field, I'm excited. But let's talk about Carlos Mendoza. So, he spent 4 seasons as Aaron Boone's bench coach. Before that, he worked as the club's quality control and infield coach for 2 seasons. He was a minor league infield coordinator for 5, a minor league manager for 4 seasons. He also coached for Venezuela in the WBC and in the Venezuelan Winter League. I thought it was an interesting hire because it's David Stern's first hire as a general manager. right? Because he didn't hire Craig Counsell when he was over there in Milwaukee. So this is the first manager hire that David Stearns has ever had. And I thought it was an interesting one because we're going to talk about the Counsell situation and that the Mets made Craig Counsell an offer, but then the Cubs blew that offer out of the water. And Counsell has Midwest ties. We're going to talk about all of that. But everything I hear, at least from Yankees people, stuff that I read online, articles, is that Mendoza was one of the guys that, along with Stephen Vogt and Craig Counsell, was one of the top hires around the league, right? I know there's, a lot of people out there want Joe Madden to come back, or could we possibly get Dusty Baker? And there's a couple other ones, but Mendoza, it's not just the Mets not knowing what they're doing. I trust in David Stearns. I say this all the time on the podcast. People who have been listening know I trust the smart people. I trust the Dodgers when they acquire someone. I trust the Rays. I trust the Astros. I trust the Braves. I trust David Stearns. And I haven't heard one negative thing about Mendoza. He's one of these young up-and-comers, really good in the locker room. Like, all the players tend to really like him too. It's going to take a while. And Stearns and the Mets, they came out and said that we really want this guy to grow with our organization, which they haven't had a manager in a really long time stick for all that long. Like, Buck Showalter was there for a couple of years, right? And they've had a couple other guys come in and out, but they haven't really had a mainstay. Their plan, at least right now, is for Carlos Mendoza to be a mainstay. So for all the Mets fans who are chronically online and already hate the move, I understand the lack of trust, but you brought in one of the best general managers, arguably in sports. He's definitely up there in baseball. And if you were making a top 10 throughout sports, he might be on that list. Let him cook. Let's see how it goes, because I haven't heard one negative thing about Mendoza, and he has plenty of experience for a 43-year-old who I think will make good connections in the Mets locker room. We'll see.
I didn't know much at all about Carlos Mendoza, and strictly what I've learned is from like the newsers from MLB.com and The Athletic and ESPN and the local beat. Like DeComo did a great newser on this, and he mentioned since Terry Collins was not long ago. Terry Collins was the manager for the Mets in the World Series in 2015. Since Terry Collins left, it's been Mickey Callaway, Carlos Beltran, who didn't manage a game, Luis Rojas, and Buck Showalter. I feel like by age alone and by what I've read about rapport with players, they're looking for a Beltran adjacent hire, where Beltran was just going to be a clubhouse guy, like good, has a beat, has like the heartbeat of the clubhouse at all times. And I feel like a 43-year-old is the right guy to do that in a big money 30-something clubhouse that the New York Mets have.
Exactly. And that's all I read about him, right? Because, I am a Yankee fan, so of course I'm watching all the Yankee games.
You didn't know the life and bio of your bench coach?
I unfortunately didn't. I knew he was our bench coach. I knew I heard good things, but I didn't know much about him. So when I heard that he went to the Mets and he was leaving the Yankees, I was like, all right, I'm going to start doing some deep dives. So I read probably 8 to 10 different articles, truthfully trying to find something wrong with the man, because I think it's hilarious to make fun of Mets fans. I do. I've always thought that. When Ryan comes on the show, I love giving him shit. And I always think it's funny to make fun of the Mets. Is it low-hanging fruit? Sure. Am I still having fun doing it? Absolutely. But I couldn't find anything. Everything is very, very positive about the guy. That players universally like him. He has tons of experience for a guy that young. And he's a David Stearns hire. Mets fans, are you smarter than David Stearns? I know I'm not.
A lot of Mets fans are. A lot of Mets fans do believe that they are smarter than David Stearns. So I will say that.
I love Mets fans.
Cleveland now, Steve. Yeah.
No, all I was going to say is, if you're a Mets fan right now, let David Stearns cook. Don't rush to judgment on a guy. I know it's a first year. I know the lack of trust is there. But if David Stearns screws you, you might just be screwed forever because there's nobody else who could come in. You have a $10 trillion owner and arguably the best general manager of the sport. If they can't come to good decisions, yeah, you're probably cursed forever. So might as well just buy it right now.
Just some warning. The Mets brass has already told us that 2024 is going to be a rebuild and assessment year. So like when they win 70 games this coming year, 75 games, I don't want you coming for Carlos Mendoza's head.
Yeah, but we'll see if that actually ends up happening.
Yeah. Cleveland hired Stephen Vogt, and it has not been a long journey from the playing career to the managerial spot in Cleveland. Stephen Vogt retired after the 2022 season. Great video of him homering in his final major league at bat. He was Seattle's bullpen and quality control coach this past year, and now he's hired as the 45th manager in Cleveland Guardians history. Stephen Vogt has no managerial experience, but he's one of those guys that I think everybody knows would be a good manager while they are playing. Everybody knew that about David Ross, like, oh, this guy's built like a manager. James McCann, same shit was said about McCann and is said about McCann. It's like, this guy's built like a manager. Stephen Vogt.
Shout out James McCann, went to my high school. I met him before. Great guy.
That's awesome. Wow. Big ups for Peter.
Shout out James McCann.
Stephen Vogt is like one of those walking managers in waiting. And it's really nice to have Vogt there, who is not far removed from a playing career. So his imprint on a Bo Naylor is going to be very apparent. And my eyes are on Bo Naylor in 2024. How does Vogt impact Naylor? But there are 25 other guys on the roster, and I think he's going to be a benefit to them. Kind of same thing. Young guy, heartbeat of the clubhouse, kind of an extension of it, but just a little bit heightened in terms of professionalism. He was going to get a job. It just happens to be Cleveland's job.
Yeah, he's worked with Tampa, Oakland, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. He went to the postseason with the A's. He's got a World Series ring with the Braves. The focus for you is helping Bo Naylor, obviously managing the Guardians, but you made a point there. More than adding Christian Bethancourt off waivers?
Did they add Bethancourt off waivers?
They did. I thought it was a good move.
Wait, so Bethancourt and Mejia are not Rays anymore? How are they going to catch pitches?
I don't know. I always thought they'd be Rays for life, even though Bethancourt, I think, was a Ray for like 2 years, maybe a year.
No, I think it was a year. It might have been a year and a half.
Yeah. I like the Bethancourt. But yeah, Stephen Vogt, like, obviously we don't know much about him, but from everything, again, I read on him, seems like the greatest guy to ever live. I mean, the reports on him are just, whenever he enters the clubhouse, everybody gravitates toward him immediately. He's just the nicest guy, can walk into any kind of atmosphere and just own it. Like, I'm not surprised at all that he was one of the top picks for a manager in this market when there are other good candidates, but he's the one without any experience. Like, Carlos Mendoza doesn't have any big league manager experience, but he has experience managing like Venezuela in the WBC. He's been a bench coach. He's been
bench coach for Aaron Boone in New York.
Exactly.
Like, that's as close to manager reps as you'll get.
Exactly. So Stephen Vogt having none of that, and he hit a home run not that long ago, and now he's the manager. But to move on from Francona, I thought it was so interesting because the Guardians haven't had to hire a manager in a very long time. So I was reading something that, they asked Tito, what are the good qualities of a manager? They, interviewed a bunch of other managers on existing teams from The Athletic in order to, just get a good grasp on what it takes to be a good manager, because they've been spoiled with Terry Francona for over a decade, since 2012. So I thought the hiring process was really cool, that all they could talk about when he walked into the room was that his personality was infectious and that they couldn't leave without making him the manager. Like, I'm very, very excited for him as a person, and I'm excited for the Guardians. If they go from Terry Francona and Stephen Vogt works, like, it's hard to find consistency in the managerial role like that.
No, I mean, we just mentioned the turnstile that has been the New York Mets, and there are a lot of clubs that have had a turnstile at manager, and I think Cleveland's hoping that they don't. I love how they went in a different direction after Francona. Because if you try and find a replacement to Terry Francona, Like if you try and find someone to replicate the impact on the clubhouse that Terry Francona does,
Yeah.
you're shit out of luck, because the only guy that can just won a World Series in Texas. And I promise you, Texas is his last job.
Or
Tito
Dusty
and Vogt,
Baker, who
or
he
Dusty
already showed
Baker.
it's his last job.
Yeah, it is his last job. Dusty retired.
Like you could try and hire Joe Madden, but I just don't think, just because they're both old doesn't mean they're the same.
And you're the Cleveland Guardians. Like, try something new, try something fun, like exciting. It's like hiring the innovative offensive coordinator after you've got this run and gun guy. Like if Iowa got a Lincoln Riley disciple, they would be must watch football, because it's like, how does this work? That's kind of how I look at the Guardians here, where it's like, all right, you're not getting anything close to Terry Francona. Do you want to, I don't know, try the 60 something that's on his fourth chance? Or do you want to try someone new that can give you a youthful energy and just difference for a team that underperformed in 2023? And they went with the latter, and I'm glad they did.
I'm really glad they did, because they easily could have gone with Buck Showalter, right? A guy who's been around the block 50 billion years, would slide in perfectly, wouldn't need really much time for adjustment, and then they could hit the ground running. Now, will it succeed? Will it be something that you can build around for years? Probably not, right? Then you'd have to move on in another couple of years. Why not just get Stephen Vogt in there and then see what you got? Because then, you can always move off a manager for some reason it doesn't work. But I have a good feeling about him. And maybe I'm just buying into the personality, but he just seems, and every time you hear him talk too, it's just like, this guy's the best. He's the best.
And there's something about sports, and I know I'm not alone in this thought, where it almost like gets me excited when I see somebody get their first chance.
Me too.
Because there are so many guys around sports. It's not a baseball exclusive problem, but baseball, you really see it. There are so many guys that get fifth and sixth and seventh chances. It gets boring. And if it didn't work the first 5 times, why is it going to work the sixth?
Yep.
You had a year 15 years ago. Why are we doing this? Seeing somebody break through in any way. Like, hey, do you want your team to sign Billy Hamilton as a fourth outfielder, or do you want to try the guy that has a 900 OPS in AAA? Like, I'd rather see the guy get his first shot. And same goes for managers, same goes for head coaches in the NFL, same goes for head coaches in the NBA. Like, I just want to see guys get an opportunity to break through. And this is a great example of a guy breaking through.
That's why I think it's so funny, the Billy Martin thing in New York.
Dude, like he was brought back to New York like 8 times. It was 6 or 7 times. He was the manager of the fucking Yankees.
Can you imagine that happening right now? Right? Like if so, manager,
Billy Martin again.
Like if the Rangers fired Bochy and then brought him back like the middle of the year, he won another ring, then he fired him again. Like that's how it was. It's just nuts.
Billy Martin, the way that it's been explained to me, is Billy Martin would wear out his welcome. I don't know what that means. Like,
I think everybody hated him, but he kept winning. Right? I think Reggie Jackson despised the man.
Yeah, hated
you got to watch
Fenway.
It's
Dugout Fenway.
No, it's called Civil War. I think the documentary on Netflix. It's the Yankees and Dodgers. It's like the story of them in the 60s and the 70s. You got to watch it on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix, HBO Max, on somewhere. It's such a good documentary. If you're a Yankee or a Dodger fan, must watch. If you're a baseball fan, definitely give it a try. I love it.
One of the great butting heads moments in baseball history was Reggie Jackson, and if I'm not mistaken, Billy Martin in the dugout at Fenway after some, and they like nearly fought.
Oh yeah.
Last one is Craig Counsell, and I don't have much of a social life.
Yeah, I mean.
So here's what I did. I read the great article on The Athletic by Patrick Mooney, Sahadev Sharma, Tyler Kepner, and Ken Rosenthal. I think I got all 4 of the authors that contributed to that.
Look at you.
Okay, but like that's not the I have no social life thing. That's like, I wanted to read about the hiring and the process there.
You're a good person.
They mentioned that this has happened with the Cubs before. They have had a coach under contract that they spurned for a free agent manager. They had a manager under contract that they spurned for a free agent manager. It happened when Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer were in tandem, and they hired Joe Batten, whose contract expired in Tampa. They brought him in. He immediately won. Rick Renteria had just finished his first year as the manager of the Cubs, and by no means did they underperform. So they opted to fire Renteria and immediately bring in Joe Madden. And here's where the no social life thing comes in. I went back and I read the ESPN article written by Jesse Rogers in 2014 when they hired Madden, because I wanted the quote from Theo, because I had a feeling he was going to say, like, yeah, this is pretty unprecedented. And I lucked out. This was the exact quote from Theo Epstein. Quote, last Thursday, we learned that Joe Madden, who may be as well suited as anyone in the industry to manage the challenges that lie ahead of us, had become a free agent, Epstein said. We saw it as a unique opportunity and faced a clear dilemma. Be loyal to Rick or be loyal to the organization. In this business of trying to win a world championship for the first time in 107 years, the organization has priority over any one individual. We decided to pursue Joe. He called it a unique circumstance. And less than a decade later, it's happening again. You've got a free agent manager. You've got a manager that had a shit September. He'll tell you that. But had respect of all 26 guys in that clubhouse and everybody in that front office, and is revered as a great guy in the media, that you kick to the curb for a better manager. This doesn't happen often at all. Typically, managers will pursue open managerial positions. Craig Counsell said, I have chosen where I want to coach, where I want to manage. And it's a place that already had a manager. So it's, hey, we found someone better. Thank you for your services, David Ross. It feels like a violation of the managerial bro code in some way, but the Cubs got one of the best managers in baseball, if not the best manager in baseball, Bochy, and like, it's tough. Yeah, a top 5 manager in baseball, top 3 manager in baseball. They made him the highest paid manager in Major League Baseball history
by a lot.
And
dude got a bag.
Yeah, 8 a year, 5-year, $40 million contract.
Oh.
And they kicked David Ross to the curb. Was it a good decision in the interest of winning baseball games? Yes. Is that the only thing that matters? Quite frankly, yes. Did it feel slimy? Yes, it did.
Did it feel slimy?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't think it felt slimy, and I'll tell you why. Let's say there's a free agent pitcher on the market, and you have a good number 3, right? Because, and the reason I relate it to pitchers is because Craig Counsell's an ace. Craig Counsell is the Garrett Cole, the Sandy, the Wheeler, the whoever you want to name on the market. And you have a
Kyle
good
Bradish.
number. Kyle Bradish. Yeah. And then David Ross is your Luis Severino is not a great. David Ross is your Jamison Tyone. David Ross, I didn't think was this great manager. I thought he made a lot of questionable decisions. There was a lot of pinch hitters that I didn't think should be pinch hitting. There was a lot of bunts that I didn't think should have been bunts. There was a lot of bullpen decisions I didn't think were great in the time. Like when I was watching Cubs baseball, and I felt like I was watching a lot of Cubs baseball this season, right? Because every Justin Steele start was must turn on. I felt like I was betting on unders and whatever. Watched a lot of Cubs baseball, and I didn't think he was that great of a manager. Was he a bad manager? No. Do I think he is a World Series winning manager? No. Do I think he is a guy that you even get in the playoffs and I'm like, all right, you have to account for a guy like that? No, I don't. Now, could he get a job somewhere else? Prove me wrong? Absolutely, right? Because he's still relatively new. This is not a guy who's been a manager now for 20 years and we know exactly what he is. But in his first couple of stints, I didn't think he was that great. We wouldn't bat an eye if a guy like Jamison Tyone was kicked out of the rotation for another starter, but we are for managers because I think people hold these managers to a higher level when in reality, what Theo was saying was the manager is no different from a star player, right? And it's all about the organization winning games. So if David Ross isn't holding up his end of the bargain, and you have the best starting pitcher or best manager on the market, you are going to make the best move for your franchise. Does it stink because David Ross is a great guy? obviously.
Yeah.
Like, that makes
Yeah.
it worse, right? It's not David Ross who's just a shithead where it's like, oh, then whatever. He's a great guy, so it stings. I didn't think it was slimy at all. I think that's just business. Like, this is the business
It
of
is. It's business. And I entirely agree with you. And I would agree that it wasn't slimy if Tom Ricketts didn't say this, the
Mm.
owner of the Cubs. This is from the Athletic article.
Is this tea? Are we spilling tea, as the kids say?
I mean, like, Moody wrote it in the Athletic.
Tea.
In what was supposed to be a transition year, the Cubs won 83 games, played an entertaining style of baseball, and remained in playoff contention until the final weekend of the season.
Hot take.
During game, what?
Cubs might have made the playoffs if they had Craig Counsell last year.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think that's a hot take.
Okay,
I think he made some brutal decisions down the stretch.
Right? Like, I was being nice. I felt like he made some brutal decisions.
PCA sat, Canario sat. Like, the kids are going to play now. I get that Ross was going with a Mike Tauchman over a Pete Crow Armstrong because he valued seniority, but like, seriously, dude? But this is the kicker. During game 162 in Milwaukee, where the Cubs were eliminated, Cubs chairman Tom Ricketts praised Ross as, quote, a great manager, and declared, quote, he's our guy.
Well,
yeah, that kind of negates everything, right?
Yeah, I guess there's context to everything. Like, what was the question asked to him about that, right? Because I went to the school of, go ahead.
No, when the owner and chairman says, quote, he's our guy, you expect not to be fired and replaced by another manager.
I guess, but what else is he going to say? We're keeping
we'll
our
assess
options
it
open.
season's end. There's so much coach speak.
But then that means he is definitely fired.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's business.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's not the best look. I would love to hear the question that garnered that type of response, right? Because I went to the School of Journalism. Didn't go to the School of Journalism. I'm saying I was taught Journalism 101 when I kind of made fun of Merrill Kelly for talking about the World Baseball Classic, right, and how it compares to Citizens Bank Park. And that quote kind of took for a ride, but you hear the question and he was mostly just like, are you afraid of the crowd noise? He's like, no, I've been in an environment. Did he word it correctly? No. So I'm curious what the question was.
Yeah.
To garner a response of he's our guy. Like, maybe they might ask, oh, are there any doubts with David Ross? What are your thoughts on David Ross? And he's like, instead of saying we're going to assess at season's end, meaning he is definitely 100% gone, because I think at season's end, they did not think that Craig Counsell was going to be a Chicago Cub, right? There was a great, again, that piece in The Athletic that you were referencing. Jed Hoyer has just had his eye on this guy. It's like a scout finding a player, right? He gets drafted by a different team and you just always have your eyes on him. You're like, as soon as that dude hits the open market, he's going to be our guy. And that's why the money it's crazy.
It's a crazy amount of money.
And Craig Counsell is a great manager. Great manager. Hasn't won.
Is any manager worth $8 million a year? No,
exactly.
I don't think so.
Hasn't won anything, right? Doesn't have a World Series. What do we say about the Brewers every year? And the quotes are always, well, he got the most out of the Brewers. He got the most out of the Brewers. Like, the Brewers have great pitching. It's not like they just had shit on their team, right? Did he get a lot out of them? Absolutely. Is he going to come in and guarantee a Cubs World Series? Like, he's not Bruce Bochy, right? Like, he isn't. He's a great manager who hasn't won anything yet, who has a lot of potential and could definitely win a World Series, and I wouldn't be surprised. But let's not pretend that they just got Shohei Ohtani of managers, because that's what he was paid like.
Jed Hoyer he was paid like the Ohtani of manager. He was paid an unprecedented figure. He got it back.
5 years, $40 million for a manager.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
That's absolutely crazy. And frankly, I disagree with it. Like, I think managers are integral to the game. I think they are so important. But like $8 million a year? Really? What I will say is this.
I'm glad that it sets a precedent, though, for future managers. Like, I hope I always hope, like, when things like this happen, we can say, oh, I wouldn't have paid that much. But in the back of both of our minds, Arm shares this. We all share this. Get your bag. We love guys getting paid in this business. It's awesome. So I'm happy that he did. Would I have done it? No, but Am I happy that it then sets the precedent for future managers to be paid at this level? I think it's awesome. Good for them.
Get your bag. Also, Mort Meisner is his agent. And he was quoted in this Athletic article pretty much saying that like he's now set the mark moving forward for the best managers in baseball. Good. And that is, I've talked about that with Taylor Davis a lot. And I think we've talked about it with Buehler a little bit. Like it is your job as the best player in baseball or as the best at your position in baseball to set the market for your position moving forward. And Craig Counsell just set the market. So shout out to him. I mean, I guess the Cubs and I guess Jed Hoyer is hoping that Counsell can be Joe Madden, where Joe Madden wrung the towel dry of every ounce of success that was in Tampa. He got oh so close. They lost to Philly in the World Series. He comes to Chicago. He's given more resources and he wins a World Series. I think they're hoping the same thing for Counsell because it's a nearly identical situation.
Yeah, his manager record, 707 and 625 for a 531 winning percentage. First year goes 61 and 76 and 73 and 89. Then he rattles off a bunch of mid 80s win seasons, 96 in 2018, below 500 in the COVID year, 290 plus win seasons from 2021 to 2023 with an 86 win season in there. You know, barely any playoff wins, obviously no World Series. I think he's a great manager.
How many years?
Since 2015.
2015. So that's
9 years.
8 seasons?
Yeah, 8 or 9. It might have been 20. I think it was 9 seasons.
Gotcha. So 9 seasons. Granted, one of them was a 60-game season. You said a 531 winning percentage?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Madden had 9 seasons in Tampa before the Cubs hired him. 754 and 705 is a 517 winning percentage.
There you go.
So, all right, first team all MLB.
First team all MLB.
We'll do that in a moment, but first, a quick break. First team all MLB. If you missed second team all MLB, we're okay with you stopping the podcast and going to listen to the Monday show, but then come back to this timestamp and listen to first team all MLB. These are the best players at each position. We've got a player at each position offensively. We have a DH. We have a utility guy. We've got 5 starting pitchers and 2 relievers. I will give you who we chose for the second team, and then I'll introduce the first team. Cool?
Right.
Start with catcher, where you had the issue. Second team was William Contreras and the Milwaukee Brewers, who had a 5.4 fWAR. Our first team catcher is Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles. And Adley played 154 games. He had a 5.1 fWAR. Contreras, a better WAR. Adley / 277, 374, 435. 20 homers, 80 driven in, a 127 WRC plus. So William Contreras technically graded out as a higher value defender. He was 0.3 WAR better than Adley Rutschman. Adley was 3 points better in the WRC plus department. But the reason that we decided to give Adley the edge over William Contreras is Adley was the best player on the best team in the American League this year, and a team that had won like 20 games for each of the last 10 years, and then all of a sudden had this surprise in 2022 and parlayed that into an AL East title in 2023. Adley Rutschman is an anchor. If I'm not mistaken, it still holds. The Baltimore Orioles have not been swept since Adley Rutschman made his major league debut. He impacts the game in a variety of different ways, and that's why he's the best catcher in baseball.
Yeah, if you don't count the postseason where they did get swept, but we won't talk about that. It's very early on in the career. Yeah, the reason I was going to be fake upset about going with Adley over William Contreras is I did think, and I think the numbers would slightly back this up, that he did have a slightly better season. He was higher in the fWAR department. By all the metrics defensively, he was the better defender. And he held a slight edge in OPS. But in terms of WRC plus, Adley took the cake. I do think Adley, when I watch both of them, Adley is the better hitter. He just is. Now, we could disagree about that, but I don't think many people would. And overall, Adley is still a great defensive catcher. And why I'm so impressed with Adley, and I'm ready to also call him the best catcher in baseball. You got to listen to these Orioles pitchers talk about this guy.
Yeah.
They are obsessed with his work ethic, the way he controls a game, the way he calls a game. He just seems like the perfect catcher. And ever since he's been called up, he put up a 5.5 win season, then a 5-win season. He's a 130 WRC plus guy for his career right now through 2 seasons. Why wouldn't he get better or at least maintain this level of production? He's not quite the hitter Will Smith is. He's not the clearly best defensive catcher in Major League Baseball. He doesn't have the speed that JT Realmuto has behind the plate. But one catcher who has kind of everything, that is Adley Rutschman. And of course he's a switch hitter. Because it wouldn't be Adley Rutschman, the guy who has everything, without him also being a switch hitter. He had a phenomenal year. And if Ty goes to the guy on the best team in baseball in terms of, a record in the American League, I'm totally fine giving with Adley, but I just wanted to give William Contreras his shine because, man, was that guy great behind the plate. He wasn't quite the hitter that Adley was, but it was razor thin, but damn, Contreras was good, and he's going to be good for a very long time. But Adley is just that guy.
So when he was catching, the Orioles pitching staff had a 3.99 staff ERA. I will go find it on William Contreras, but just thinking in terms of narrative, and it's unfair to William Contreras, but does
William Contreras also had better pitchers to pitch to him, so that
that's
ERA might be lower.
So, does Kyle Bradish have an ERA under 3 if he's thrown to William Contreras? I don't know. Does Tyler Wells have the pre-All-Star run that he did if he's thrown to William Contreras? I don't know. It's questions that we don't have an answer to and can't get an answer to, but there's a certain level of intangibles that Adley, I think, brings that are more than any other catcher in the game.
I don't think it's a coincidence that when Adley Rutschman steps foot in Camden Yards, ever since then, the Orioles have not stopped winning. That isn't a coincidence. It's hard to quantify it, right? There's going to be plenty of nerds who live in the basement with me in that same basement. I'm also in there.
Where is it?
Say, how do you quantify that? How do you quantify them winning? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you yet, but it's clear that something's happening there. And if you can't recognize that, I don't know what to tell you. You were asking where the basement is?
Yeah, it feels pretty Staten Island.
Yeah, I mean, it's my apartment. This is my basement.
Or do you live in Staten Island?
Yeah,
that'd be tough.
Yeah.
First,
shout out Staten Island. That's where I was born. Shout out Staten Island.
Shout out Staten Island, man. Go Yankees! Former short season affiliate of the New York Yankees, the Staten Island Yankees.
Yep.
First base, Matt Olson was our second team guy. Matt Olson had a 6.7 WAR, 54 homers, 139 driven in. Somehow he was still over a win lower than our first team first baseman.
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman had a 7.9 WAR season. Of course, he's the best first baseman in baseball. Played 161 games. Freddie slashed 331, 410, 567. He finished a double shy of 60. He had 29 homers, 102 driven in. Oh, by the way, Freddie Freeman swiped 23 bags and had a 163 WRC plus.
Yeah.
That's it. I have no notes.
There was nothing that Matt Olson did better than Freddie Freeman this year, except hit more home runs. And yeah, he's going to drive in more runs because he's got more guys in front of him. Like Freddie Freeman, for a lot of the year, hit second, right? So the RBIs are not going to accumulate like they will on the Atlanta Braves when you hit fourth and you have Ron Acuna Jr. in front of you and Ozzie Albies and Austin Riley. So the RBI discussion, right? If you think Matt Olson is better, you are a Braves fan. Just admit it. You're a Braves fan. And you're excited about Matt Olson hitting 50-plus bombs. And he was amazing. But Freddie Freeman was objectively better in every other category. He's a better defender. He's a better base runner. He had 1 trillion doubles, right? So they're not quite going over the wall, but they're 4 extra bases. right? It's not like Freddie Freeman's some power inept guy. Like Freddie Freeman had 29 home runs and 59 doubles, and 23 bags hit 330. Of course, Freddie Freeman's the number one first baseman in baseball. He has been the number one first baseman in baseball now for, a half decade. And I still will remember, Blue Jays fans. I remember when you came after me. I remember. I'll never.
It was after like all of us, really, because it was kind of a consensus that Freddie was just better than Vladdy.
I'm just the only one who took it personally, so that's why I'm saying they came after me.
Got you. I appreciate your willingness to be transparent about that.
Yeah.
Second team, it was a real like scratch and claw to figure out the second team's second baseman. Ketel Marte, Nico Horner, Luis Arraez were the original three candidates. But then you remember that Ozzie Albies had 30 plus homers and over 100 driven in. And it's like, okay, well, it has to be Ozzie Albies. But Marcus Semien is our first team second baseman. Marcus Semien of the Texas Rangers played all 162 like he does every freaking year. It was really well documented during the postseason. If this guy has a beating heart, he's going to be in the lineup that day. Semien, all 162. He put up a 6.3 WAR season. /276, 348, 478, 29 homers, 100 driven in, 14 stolen bases, and a 124 WRC plus. But he sucked in the postseason, so I'm out on Semien.
Yeah, he sucked. Yeah, I mean, he just wasn't that good in the postseason. I don't give a shit.
No, he's great.
Watching him every day, he is just, I mean, he's the ultimate ball player in Major League Baseball right now. You get your lunch, you go to the ballpark, and you go 2 for 5. And he's going to get 5 ABs every game. He's going to make an impact on defense. He's just going to do something every game that impacts winning. That's why his WAR is so high, right? He's good at everything. He's good bat to ball. He's got power. He's got speed. He's a good defender. You hear him talk. He's just a delight. He's just a great ball player. Love Marcus Semien, one of my favorite players. Goes under the radar because he's not flashy, but he does everything well. He's a joy to watch.
My favorite Semien thing is when he was in Oakland. By the way, started as a White Sox. Shout out Marcus Semien, White Sox era. It feels like a fever dream, but Sox fans, you are with me. You remember it somehow.
Shout out Rick
Semien, when he was in Oakland, there was a year where he led Major League Baseball in errors committed as a shortstop. And then he makes the transition to second base, and he's the best defensive second baseman in the game, probably.
And that can hurt somebody's ego.
It can.
It didn't. He just became one of the best second basemen. That's why he's a ball player. He just shows up to the park and does whatever you need him to do at a high level on every facet of the game.
And defensive excellence is what gave him a higher WAR than his middle infield mate, who is the best shortstop in baseball, which is crazy to consider.
Not as many games.
But Corey Seager of the Rangers is the first team all MLB shortstop, and Seager is the best shortstop in the game. Now, Semien played 162, Seager played 119, which he was going to have an 8 WAR season if he played 162.
Maybe 9.
Maybe 9. Seager, a 6.1 WAR /327, 390, 623. Not only did this cat hit 33 bombs in 119 games, but he had 42 doubles, 96 RBIs, and a 169 WRC plus, which is the highest among shortstops ever.
It's got to be up there. I mean, the A-Rod years.
Be up there.
The A-Rod years where he's roided up.
I'll find it. Highest WRC plus by a shortstop, because 169 needs to be right effing there.
Yeah.
Corey Seager, we've waxed poetic about this guy for the last month. We did it all year. I've got nothing more to add except I understand why Derek Jeter said that Corey Seager's his favorite player in baseball right now.
You said 33 home runs and 42 doubles?
Yes.
So he had 75 extra base hits in 119 games while playing Gold Glove level defense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's our first team shortstop. Sorry. Love Lindor. Going into the season, he was my number 1 ranked shortstop. He's number 2. He just is. I mean, come on. 2-time World Series MVP. Hits 333 bombs, 42 doubles in 119 games. It's just, Francisco Lindor could literally not make an error for the rest of his career. He ain't that. Congrats on the stolen bases. this is a different type of player. This is a 300 million plus player. This is a top 10 player in Major League Baseball. He just is. His only critique is staying healthy. That's it. Because he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he stays healthy for the rest of his career. He's that good. Now, Lindor will be too, but Lindor isn't quite as good as Corey Seager is, especially because Corey Seager is this great defender. I mean, what? How are you that big, that rangy, and you never make mistakes? Anyone see him make one mistake in the playoffs? One, ever? Nope. I think he was the only player in postseason history to not make a mistake by Peter Vision.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you can't quantify it, but by Peter Vision, I don't remember a guy having a literal flawless postseason. Flawless.
Yeah. I'm sure one of you guys can tell me if 169 is the highest WRC plus by a shortstop in a single season. I have the highest WRC plus like in a single season ever, regardless of position. There have been 7 seasons that have resulted in a WRC plus over 200.
Gotcha.
Can you name the people that did it?
Are we counting 2020?
We are, but there's no 2020 in there.
Oh, there wasn't Soto? Soto didn't do it?
No, I don't think so.
Soto never had a 200 WRC plus season?
Let's see.
Well, I know Judge did.
Judge did.
Since when?
Of all time.
Bonds. It's done it like probably 5
Bonds
times.
did it 4 times.
Yeah,
Bonds did it 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. So that knocks out 5 of them. You're missing 2.
4 straight seasons. So Judge.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Soto did it in 2020. All right. 47 games. He had a 202.
Yeah.
All right. So not counting 2020.
Yeah, not counting 2020. Judge. Did A-Rod do it once?
A-Rod didn't
59 home run year?
A-Rod did not do it.
No, he didn't do it. Did David Ortiz ever do it?
Ortiz did not do it.
Manny Ramirez, did he ever do it?
Oh, shit. I mean, Ruth did it a bunch. StatMuse is lying to me, man.
Just
Since 1961, since the fucking Maris year.
Since 2021, who's done it?
Since 1961. So discounting fucking Babe Ruth, Bonds did it 4 times. Judge, Mark McGwire, Frank Thomas. That's kind of a fun little trivia question that has nothing to do with the pot.
I bet Frank Robinson had a year where he had like a 190 WRC plus or something. He had some crazy years. I was looking at his baseball reference. He has some disgustingly good years. Would just go on your laptop if you're listening to this, just look up Frank Robinson on baseball reference. I know all of you know the name, but some of these guys who have like 590 career home runs had some gnarly seasons.
Yeah, crazy years. Or they played for like 25 years.
Yeah.
Francisco Lindor was our second team shortstop. Third base, our second team third baseman. I tried to shove Isaac Paredes on here, but I decided that would have been silly, and Jose Ramirez was the second team guy.
Yeah.
But the first team third baseman is Austin Riley of the Atlanta Braves. You remember when we were worried about Austin Riley, like first 2 months of the year? It was like, hey, what's up with Austin Riley?
Yeah, there was a week in May where I'm like, is he that good?
Yeah, like, are we sure Austin Riley's the guy? Like, he's kind of underperforming compared to Olsen and Acuna, but Austin Riley in 159 games, 5.2 WAR / 281, 345, 516, 32 doubles, 37 home runs, 97 driven in, and a 127 WRC plus. Austin Riley, like, it doesn't matter if he has a bad month because he's going to stand on his head the month after. He is... If I were making a list of like the most fun hitters to watch for me personally, Riley's in the top 5 there. Number 1's Yordan Alvarez for sure, but there's something about just big country boy hitting taters that I am obsessed with, and that's Austin Riley.
I do love the way you phrase that. That's kind of electric.
I mean, everything's just a rocket.
Because Austin Riley would not be on my top 5 players to watch. But then again, I just lauded Marcus Semien, who's way more boring, but I love him. So I get where you're coming from. He is awesome, especially when he's hot. When he's hot, that's the thing. Like a hot Austin Riley. Who am I watching over a hot Austin Riley? A hot Austin Riley is like better than Acuna in terms of offense.
Not sure.
Dude, yeah, I mean, maybe not, but he hits the piss out of the baseball. Can you imagine if he starts performing well before the All-Star break? He did it again. This year, before the All-Star break, 775 OPS. Post All-Star break, dude slashed 300, 368, 601. In 2022, why did I think he had a bad? I guess it was the opposite. I made a stupid point, ladies and gentlemen. In 2022, 923 OPS in the first half, 814 OPS in the second half. I could have sworn he was always a bad first half, great second half guy, but I was wrong. First time being wrong ever.
He's just kind of gas all the time. Left field, Juan Soto was our second team guy, but our first team guy is a rookie and the guy that's going to win National League Rookie of the Year. Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks put together a 6-win season his rookie year. 155 games. Carroll slashed 285, 362, 506. 30 doubles. How about 10 triples to go along with 26 homers, 76 RBIs, 54 stolen bases, and a 133 WRC plus. MVPs in this cat's future.
I highly recommend going on YouTube after you're done finishing this one. Shout out to people on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. How about the like button? What about a comment? All that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Go check out Foolish Baseball's new video on Corbin Carroll and this season potentially being the best base running season of all time over Ricky Henderson. It was an incredible video, broke it down really well using all these different advanced stats to measure base running. You know, how often is he going first and third? How often is he scoring on a double? How often is he stealing bases? How efficiently is it? How is he staying out of double plays? Like, Bailey broke it all down. Incredible video. And I came away from that video agreeing with Bailey that it was the greatest base running season of all time. Not to mention he is a 70 grade defender. What would you give him out there? 75, 80? Arm is garbage, but he can get to any ball ever.
Yeah. I guess like 60, 65 in left.
Probably. Maybe no, in left, he's got to be 70.
He's a really good defender.
60.
Yeah, he's a really good defender.
And then he hits 30 home runs. I mean, this guy is going to be one of the best players in baseball for the next decade and a half. And the fact that the Diamondbacks locked him up, everyone at the time was like, whoa, that pre-arb deal is enormous. But now might have been an underpay. Might have been an underpay.
Pretty spot on.
Oh, he's so good.
Pretty friggin' spot on.
Plus 500, plus 500 rookie of the year. One of the easiest bets that just baseball's ever made in the history of ever.
I love that. Another guy who, like, yes, he got paid, but we were asking the question, are we sure this guy's an all-star? He was a very late ad. And then he broke out in the craziest way right before the break and then after the break. Our second team center fielder was Luis Robert, but our first team is Julio Rodriguez. Luis Robert put together a 5-win season. J-Rod somehow had a 5.9 win season. He was OPSing like 720 a week before the All-Star break. And then he had 17 hits in 4 games, and it all just kind of clicked after that.
I know.
Julio Rodriguez, 155 games, again, a 5.9 F4, 275, 333, 485 slash, 37 doubles, 32 homers, 103 driven in, 37 stolen bases, a 126 WRC plus. He's going to fall backwards and sleepwalk, whichever cliche you want to use, into a 30-30 season every year moving forward.
With great defense in center field. I'm going to be betting him to win the MVP every year for the next 5 years. Don't care. Because he's going to win 1 and he might win 2. And I'm going to get a great return on my investment when he does it. And I'm very confident in saying that when he does it, not if, when. I think this might be his worst season that he ever has, or at least in his, next 10 years in Major League Baseball. This guy, when he is on, is a top 5-ish player in the game. Power, unbelievable. Speed, one of the fastest players. Can get to any ball in center field. Rocket of an arm. Great bat to ball skills. He's a 5-tool player. He's everything that you would want in a franchise guy. And he just got off to a slow start, right? Still young. Pitchers make adjustments to you. They have a whole season of film, and they try and pick you apart. And then what do the great players do? They make their adjustments. And what did he do in the second half? He became a first-team All-MLB guy after struggling in the first half. He's just different. He's a different hitter. He's a different player. This will be an MVP. I'll be honestly, this is how highly I think of him. I will be disappointed if he only wins one MVP in his career.
His sophomore slump, we thought, for the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah, he was a first team all MLB guy.
6-win season. Slump.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a 7 to 8 win guy for a lot of years.
I would say that's crazy, but it's just not. Like, that's who this cat may be.
Tell me what he's even average at.
Nothing. He gets hosed constantly. All of his strikeouts, it feels like, are 2 balls off the plate. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And his plate discipline is only going to improve. The more reps he gets, the better he's going to get. He's just all world.
Yeah. There are 2 points of worry for me when it comes to a player's success. The sophomore slump is like the common mind one, but my galaxy brain point of worry for players is when they make their first bad commercial. Like Max Scherzer's TurboTax commercials were kind of the beginning of his aging process. You remember those where he was like playing the piano?
Yeah.
It wasn't a good commercial. And in turn, like his numbers have not been the same. I'm not a fan of the J-Rod T-Mobile commercials. I just don't think they're great. I don't think they're.
He's got to get more comfortable back there behind the camera.
But like, I don't think T-Mobile did a good job like showcasing who J-Rod is. So there were. I have some thoughts there, but I'll save them because this guy managed to overcome the first bad commercial curse. It's like the Madden curse, but it's first bad commercial.
I have another take about Julio Rodriguez. I think if you put him on the Atlanta Braves and you put Ronald Acuna Jr. on the Mariners, Julio would have a type season that Ronald Acuna Jr. just did. I think he has that level of talent. Because if you let him run wild, I mean, Acuna was not efficient on the base paths. Like, he wasn't. You know, he stole a bunch. He got thrown out a bunch. He could kind of do whatever he wanted. It's free thinking. You know, you're leading off. If you get thrown out of a second, it's okay because Ozzy Albies is just going to hit a solo home run or he'll get on. And then Austin. So he has free reign, and that shouldn't take anything away. Braves fans, that doesn't take anything away from Acuna. What I'm saying is I think if Julio Rodriguez was in the exact same scenario, he has the talent to put up a similar type season to Acuna last year.
This is where I'm going to side with Braves fans and where I have to disagree with you. I love J-Rod. Nobody's built like Ronald Acuna. No one.
I don't know.
Acuna played, by the way, that takes us to Ronald Acuna Jr., who is the best one-way player in baseball this year, and he's the first-team right fielder. Kyle Tucker was the second-team guy. Julio Rodriguez played 155 games. He had a 5.9 WAR. Acuna played 4 more games and had 2.4 more wins. He was an 8.3 win player. He slashed 337, 416, 596, 41 homers, 106 driven in, 149 runs scored. I almost never cite runs scored, but this guy crossed the plate 150 times this year in 159 games. 73 stolen bases and a 170 WRC plus. So he was 44 points better than Julio Rodriguez in the WRC plus department. He was 60 points better in the batting average department, 80 points better in the OBP, over 110 points better in the slug. It's really hard to convince me that someone's cut from the same cloth that Acuna is cut from. I don't think there's a human being on planet Earth that's going to take 96 on the outside corner from Emmett Sheehan and hit it 121.7. Was that what it was? To dead center? There's no one like that.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player.
He's 101, man.
Stand by what I said. Will it happen? I don't know. But I'm going to stand on what I said. But regardless, there's one thing to dream on that potential. There's another thing for that potential to not be potential because it's fucking happening right now.
Yeah,
that's what Acuna did. Holy God. Read it again. Read it again.
I mean, an 8.5 win season, hit 340, 41 homers, 106 driven in. He scored 149 runs, 73 stolen bases, and a 170 WRC plus.
the first member of the 30-60 club, the first member of the 40-60 club, the first member of the 40-50 club, the first member of the 40-70 club.
And oh, by the way, he hit 337.
Unbelievable.
Do
and
you think
121 off the bat?
Yeah. Do you think, like, if you had rode the show on rookie or like beginner, whatever it is, do you think you could do this?
Well, no, because I suck at video games, but I'm sure someone who's very good at MLB The Show could do that. I think these guys hit like 700 with like 80 runs.
This is the closest thing you will see to a
Yes.
video game season.
Yep, exactly. You have Shohei and then you have this.
Yeah.
And it's to be compared to Shohei, you have to have like historic seasons.
No, I mean,
Judge
the only
hit
way
63.
the only way Judge beat Ohtani in that MVP vote is if he broke Maris's record, and he did.
Yeah. I wonder who would win an MVP of the entire league between Acuna and Ohtani
This year?
Voters got it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so tough.
Because you would probably just have to say Ohtani, right? Because Acuna didn't pitch, right?
But like,
yeah.
Let's get to Ohtani now. Second team All MLB DH was Yordan Alvarez. First team is Shohei Ohtani. As a hitter exclusive, Shohei Ohtani, 135 games, 6.6 WAR as a DH.
You get
6.6.
You get dinged in your F4 for DHing, folks. You got dinged.
He slashed 304, 412, 654, 8 triples, 44 homers, 95 driven in, 20 stolen bases, and a 180 WRC plus. And he finished with what, a 3.14 ERA or 3.16?
3.14. We had less than 3.15 in our prize pick season log. Yeah. 3.14.
I guess it's Ohtani.
Just to bring you back to an instant, I bet on the Angels against the Rays on the money line, and it ended up losing. But in that game, Ohtani, I think, led off the game with a home run or something to give the Angels a 1-0 lead. And then the pitcher for the Angels got hit up. And then I think it's like the bottom of the 5th inning. It's a 4-1 game where the Rays are winning. And the only way the Angels scored that first run was Ohtani did whatever he did. I don't know if it was a home run, but it was a double. It was something. He manufactured that run basically by himself. Comes up with the bases loaded. And I'm thinking to myself, I think we're about to see the first intentional walk with the bases loaded since Bonds or since whoever it was. They didn't walk him, and he ended up hitting a grand slam. And they lost that game, I think, 7-5. But he did literally everything. I think he went 4 for 4. And that was the most Angels Ohtani situation ever. The dude hit 2 home runs. One was a grand slam, and they lose 7-5. He was a team because he's pitching also. Like, he is a mini team. There's one thing to be Ronald Acuna Jr. just to make so much impact on every side of the baseball, but it's another thing to be a team. Like, Ohtani is a team. When he signs his contract, he should get owner's stake. He should get equity. They should rename the team after him. He is a team in itself. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, one of the best hitters in baseball. You may never see it again.
MLB Trade Rumors put out the contract projection for Ohtani. It was like 12 years, 528 or something.
Yeah,
I think that's about right.
I think it's undervaluing him.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'd give him $1 million.
Utility. Mentioned Cody Bellinger on the Monday show is the second team utility guy. The first team utility guy is the best player that we haven't named yet, Mookie Betts of the LA Dodgers. Mookie Betts is a utility guy now because he hopped in at shortstop when he needed to, and he played a high level of second base. And remember, he's a Gold Glove right fielder. Wherever the Dodgers needed him, and they needed him everywhere because they were decimated this year by injury, Mookie Betts showed up and produced an 8.5 win season, 152 games, 8.3 F4, /307 408 579. 40 doubles, 39 homers, 107 driven in, 14 bags, a 167 WRC plus. Best all-around season that we've got.
Yeah, you know when I didn't want to use the term ultimate ball player for Semien? I was like, he's just a great ball player. He's not the ultimate ball player, though, because Mookie Betts is the ultimate ball player.
Yeah.
Perfect in everything. I just wish he hit in the playoffs. Damn it. But, short series. What are you going to do?
Short series.
Perfect baseball player. When you look up baseball player on Google, Mookie Betts comes up. Perfect.
And Brian Reynolds. Don't forget about Brian Reynolds.
Yes, and Brian Reynolds. And Kyle Higashioka.
Yes. All right, pitchers. We're going to speed it up a little bit. Somewhat rapid fire. I'm going to give you the name, I'm going to give you the numbers, and then my prevailing takeaway, then your prevailing takeaway.
Great.
Cool. First team pitcher, our first one, best pitcher in baseball this year was Garrett Cole with the New York Yankees. Garrett Cole, 33 starts, 209 innings. He was 15-4 with a 2.63, a whip under 1, 9.5 Ks per 9, 2.1 walks per 9. Garrett Cole was the best pitcher in baseball. He is the most reliable pitcher in baseball, and 324 for him is entirely worth it for the Yankees.
Yeah, best pitcher in baseball. I mean, we're going to have the argument in the offseason when we do top 10 pitchers and all that kind of stuff. I have an argument for someone else that I want to save for that. But the answer to the question of who's the best pitcher in baseball should be Garrett Cole. He had a home run problem last year, didn't this year, and that was the difference. Horse every fifth day. Yankees win 82-80. It was a really disappointing season, but they would have gone 70-92 if they didn't have Garrett Cole. Arguably the most valuable player in baseball. Obviously not, but the Yankees would have lost so many more games if he wasn't on the hill every fifth day.
Dude, like I know that you like Cal and Bybee, but like they are not the 1 and 2 best pitcher in baseball. Like Garrett Cole. Those are the two guys that you want to make a case for, right?
You have your opinions, I have mine,
So those are the two. All right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Noted. Other first team guy, he's going to win the Cy Young in the National League. Blake Snell of the San Diego Padres. Snell, 32 starts, 180 innings at an ERA at 2.25, a whip at 1.2. You say, those numbers are kind of close. A 3.44 FIP. 11.5 Ks per 9, 5 walks per 9. I was pounding my desk saying a guy that walks 5 hitters per 9 should not win the Cy Young. But at the end of the day, he had a 2.25 ERA. And he was nails down the stretch. He won the Cy Young in the second half. And he was the best pitcher in the National League this year.
Life is about perspective, Jack. Instead of worrying about the walks, why don't we applaud the man for walking a guy every inning and still never allowing runs?
That's the thing. They are in the business of run prevention.
Yeah.
And he was the best run preventer in baseball this year.
Yeah, you watch a Blake Snell start and he strikes out the first batter. He walks the next one. He either get a double play, lazy pop out, then he gets a third out. The guys aren't scoring. They never did. They're out the entire season. Now, he's going to be a free agent. He needs some things. He needs a pitcher's bark, and he needs a great defense, and he needs a great defensive catcher. So I'm hearing the Phillies are like the name or the team that's the most connected to him. Citizens Bank with that defense. And it is better defense now. So maybe that could end up being a great fit. But I think San Diego is like kind of the perfect spot for him. Great defense, huge park on the West Coast. I think that's a good spot for him. I think he should stay, but I'm interested to see where he goes this offseason.
You know who fits that criteria to a T is Arizona.
There you go.
To a T.
Yep.
We'll see if he wants to do the division thing, and we'll see how much money they want to throw at Snell, who, again, like has blowups. But we're learning that you can have blowups and still do it.
Yeah.
Third guy is the one that we were begging to run through the tape and win the National League Cy Young. Fortunately, couldn't run through the tape as well as we had hoped. But Justin Steele was the third best pitcher in baseball this year. Justin Steele of the Chicago Cubs. 30 starts, 173 and a third innings. He was 16-5 with a 3.06 ERA, a 117 whip, or a FIP at 302, struck out a hitter per 9, walked under 2 men per 9. That fastball, man, fastball slider, like, it's just going to get you.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes of this year was when we were talking with Lance Brosdowski, who does great work for like 70 different things.
Marquis is big one. Watch
Marquis is his big
Chicago
one,
guy.
but he's been on MLB Network. He's just been on so many different things, and I think he's fantastic. And the way he broke down Steele's pitch mix, you could tell it's just a pitch that nobody sees out of the hand. That it's just right. It's not reading 98 on the gun. It's not super electric. Sometimes you're left after watching a Justin Steele start, like, how did he do that? How, when I'm watching a Justin Steele start, did I take a nap and it's the 6th inning and he's only allowed 1 run? Like, what happened here? But he's so methodical, pinpoint command, and the fastball cutters, whatever it is, they just can't see it. And it's so much weak contact. It's so cool to see a pitcher like that, who isn't lighting up the radar gun, be one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yep. Bingo. Next guy is Kevin Gausman with the Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman, FIP king, got 185 innings and 31 starts, a 3.16 ERA, whip under 1.2, a FIP under 3, 11 and a half Ks per 9, and 2.5 walks per 9.
Yeah.
That's what this cat's going to do every year. He's going to strike out a bunch of guys. He's not going to walk a bunch of guys. He's not going to allow home runs. And that's kind of the recipe for mastery. 3 true outcomes are a thing with hitters. And this is the perfect mitigator to the 3 true outcome approach.
No, he's like the best analytical pitcher in the game, right?
Yes.
Because
By
analytics judge you on what you can control as a pitcher. You can control, not always, but how hard the ball is coming off the bat, right? There are certain pitchers who are very good at inducing soft contact. You can control how many walks you allow, your strikeouts, and keeping the ball within the ballpark. Kevin Gausman does all 4 of those things at an absolutely elite level, and he will be at the top of most lists every year because of his ability to do so. With arguably baseball's best pitch, his splitter is not from this planet, right? It's like if you put Devin Williams' changeup in a starter's arm, it's just unhittable. Now, there were games this year where Kevin Gausman did not have a good start, but those came once every 2.5 months. And you're like, whoa, that was weird. And the next start, he throws a shutout. The issue is, and I cannot believe that this continues to happen. This is not just some made-up narrative. The Blue Jays do not score when he's on the mound. He ranks among the lowest in Major League Baseball in run support over the past 3 years. Ever since he signed with them, they just don't show up offensively. So he keeps going 14-10. I mean, it doesn't matter about wins and losses, but if the Blue Jays scored for him, he'd be a 20-game winner every year. For a year. But they don't have one. But that's not his fault.
There were 3 guys in the first or second team were actually cited record in the write-up on justbaseball.com. And it was Garrett Cole, who was 15-4, Steele, who was 16-5, and then Gallen, who was 17-9. I'll cite it for Strider as well, who was the last guy on the second team, who was 20-5. But
Strider won 20 games this year?
Strider won 20 games.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Wins are kind of cool.
That. Remember Kyle Wright won 20 games? Pretty awesome. Well, the Braves, someone's going to win 20 games.
Kyle Wright, man. Feel for Kyle Wright.
What was Gausman's record?
Okay, so Strider was 20-5. Kevin Gausman was, as Baseball Reference loads for me, Kevin Gausman, noted LSU Tiger, was 12-9.
Yeah, see? What is that?
Honestly,
maybe I'm not a Kevin Gausman guy. Win some more games. Win the damn game.
Hate his ass. A guy who was technically a 500 pitcher this year, I think. I think it was 14-14. And check this for me while I run through his numbers. Sonny Gray of the Minnesota Twins. Thank God he's first team All MLB. I had so much fun watching Sonny just spin teams to death this year. Sonny Gray in 184 innings across 32 starts, a 2.79 ERA, a 1.15 whip, a 2.83 FIP, striking out a hitter per 9 and walking 2.5 per 9. Sonny was so good using everything but a fastball. He, of course, mixed in a fastball in the low to mid 90s, but slider, curveball, cutter. Like, it was the kitchen sink at everybody from the jump. And this guy has aged like fine wine. And I'm not scared to pay him at all. I hope that a team that I watch consistently pays him. Because, hey, if he doesn't sign with a team that I watch consistently, I have a new team to watch every fifth day. I can't get enough of watching Sonny Gray throw the baseball.
He might have had the best season of a pitcher with a sweeper. And what I mean by that is his sweeper might be one of the best overall pitches in baseball this season. He threw it 576 times, 4 extra base hits against, 4 doubles, no home runs. Opponents hit 097 with a 135 expected to be a 118 slugging percentage with a 41% whiff rate. That is an ungodly pitch. Yeah, he went 8-8.
Yeah,
win
500 pitcher.
Win the game. No, I mean, Sonny Gray was a joy. And I kind of underrated him in the regular season. Then once the playoffs came in, I kept, whenever Sonny Gray was pitching for the Twins, I'm like, oh, yeah, they're going to win this game. And I was like, wait a minute. You're like picking the Twins and Sonny Gray in like every game that he pitches. And then it's like I had to come to realization moment. I was like, you didn't say he was one of the best pitchers in baseball during the regular season, but you knew it.
He just built capital throughout the year.
So when it came to actually picking it, I was like, yeah, Sonny Gray. But then I was like, why didn't you give him more praise in the regular season? So I underrated him this year. You did try. And I was always like, yeah, like, just keeps doing his thing, because it was always 5 innings, 1 run, or 6 innings, 1 run, and 5 or 6 Ks, but just did it every fucking game.
You do that 30 times, you're going to get some accolades.
Exactly. Unbelievable season, unbelievable sweeper, deserves to be in the top 5.
I'm going to push back on Gausman having the best pitch in baseball, because the best reliever in baseball this year was Felix Bautista with the Baltimore Orioles.
Not counting relievers.
Okay. Because in a vacuum, Felix Bautista's splitter is the best pitch in baseball. That thing is disgusting. Felix Bautista this year, 56 appearances. He saved 33 games. In 61 innings, Bautista, by the way, went 8-2. But Felix Bautista had a 1.48 ERA, a whip under 1, a FIP under 2, struck out 16.2 hitters per 9, and walked just under 4 hitters per 9. Is the splitter not the best pitch in baseball?
No. That's up there.
It's up there.
60% whiff rate. Holy shit.
Yeah.
No, but here, like, for example, opponents hit 122 off his splitter this year. Opponents hit 097 against Sonny Gray's sweeper, and he threw it 5 times as much.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
All
like,
right.
But in terms of watching that thing drop off the table at 89 miles an hour when it's paired with 100 at the neck, looks like it. I mean, it's just like, how in the world does anybody hit that? But I think Yohan Duran would like a word on some of these best pitches in baseball. But that's why I said the sweeper, Sonny Gray's sweeper, might have been the best pitcher in baseball this season. But I mean, Felix Bautista, when the game came in, it was over. I mean, people knew that, and it just sucks that he got hurt. Sucks.
Bautista also, I love that he started walking out to the wire whistle from Omar. Like, that was hard as hell. But Bautista, 100 at the top of the zone at 2,400 RPM. And then he would have the splitter at 90 at 904 RPM was the average. I mean, that thing didn't spin. It was just a 90 mile an hour, like, knuckle, pretty much.
I think the only way people are hitting that is if you're sitting on splitter and he like hangs one middle, because like you cannot catch up to the fastball. So like probably older hitters in Major League Baseball are like, I think the only chance I have is actually the splitter. Yeah. And they'll just sit on it the entire at bat. They might not see one and then they strike out. But if he throws one in the zone, like a 2-0 count, and they like can get a hit off it, that's the only way you're probably going to get a hit. Because if you're sitting fastball and that thing's coming in at 89, you can't tell out of the hand, it's gone. Like, you're just not going to make good contact with it. And if you do hit it, it's going straight into the ground. He's awesome. He's the best.
He's awesome.
He's so menacing. He's like Jordan as a pitcher.
Bingo. And I feel so bad that he's not going to be able to throw for them in 2024. So heal up, get ready for 25.
Is it the whole season?
I mean, Tommy John.
I know. Oh,
yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah. Yes, it does. The Achilles and ACL thing with quarterbacks and TJ this year with pitchers just sucks. Second best reliever in baseball this year. I know that he left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths in the wild card series, but Devin Williams of the Brewers was the second best reliever in baseball this year. Devin was automatic for Milwaukee. 61 appearances, 36 saves, 58 and 2/3 innings. This guy had a 1.53 ERA, a whip under 1, a FIP at 2.5, struck out 13.5 per 9, and walked 4.5 per 9. That changeup deserves a seat at the table too. But this guy, I don't know, in like his first true year as the full-time closer for Milwaukee, looked like the second best closer in baseball.
Yeah, his changeup got better somehow from last year. Opponents at 185 against the last year. This year they had 097.
Okay.
Now his
same as Sonny.
Yeah, his fastball did get worse though. Opponents hit 090 against it last year and 177 against it this year.
That's
so
terrible.
he's kind of I'm not even gonna make a joke. Like, it's not funny. Devin Williams is not funny. This dude's all business. He's good at everything. His walk rate's a little high, so he's not perfect.
It's
but
fine.
He's damn close to it. The reason I like Devin Williams so much too is not only does he have incredible strikeout stuff, whenever you hit the ball off Devin Williams, it doesn't go anywhere. He's a guy who in 4 straight seasons has sustained a hard hit rate under 30%. So what does that mean? Well, this year he was in the top 4% of the league. Last year he was in the top 1%. The year before he was in the top 3%, and then in the top 7%. So a normal Devin Williams AB is a weak ground out or a strikeout. You're lucky to get walked. You're just not going to hit the ball hard. So the way to get to Devin Williams is his command on or off that day. Because if it's on, it's over. If it's a little off, you could get a runner on. You're still not going to score, but it makes things interesting. But that's really it for Devin. Is his command there or not?
Fly ball rate against him is always hovering around 25%. This year was at 22.5%, which is excellent. He throws his changeup about 60% of the time. It's got a whiff rate of 40% and an average launch angle of 5 degrees. So when guys do hit it, they swing over the top of it and they just kind of graze it into the dirt. And they never lift anything against him. So, yeah, no notes. That's our first team.
What an episode. And it's all brought to you by BetMGM. But if you wouldn't mind, we got some Just Baseball merch in the episode description for all those watching on YouTube. Hit that like button, subscribe button, comment button, all the buttons. Just click them all. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you could leave a 5-star review, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Pushing on all this offseason content. And what's more to come? MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, the Just Baseball Awards. We'll also have some niche ones thrown in there. Stuff that'll make you laugh, something that'll make you angry. We do it all here. We want all the criticism, but make it constructive. Yes. Or just compliment us, because feels good. Feels all warm and fuzzy. That's Jack. I'm Peter. The 3 of us are going to be back on Friday. And with that, thank you, everybody.